couple of attendees. Give it another couple seconds. All right, awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining our webinar. We'll be talking about our longer term study abroad programs and how they help you stand out. So my name's Arena. I am an enrollment coordinator with CIEE. I am based in Pennsylvania, and so I work with students in Pennsylvania and Delaware to help make their study abroad dreams a reality. I'm also joined by alumni and Emily, who is in our marketing department. So, welcome to Emily. And I will let our alumni introduce themselves.
I can go first.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
Carolina Proctor. I studied abroad to Kyoto, Japan for a semester, and I'm a senior in high school right now.
So, thank you.
I'm Beatrix Davis. I'm in the Boston area and I studied abroad for a trimester in Sevilla, Spain.
Awesome. And they are rocking their backgrounds, so you get a little visual of where they were. So, super fun. Thank you. All right, so let's kind of dive into our longer term study abroad programs. We'll go into all the different long-term programs we have, but first to start here, why study abroad and why choose CIEE? So we have been doing this for over 75 years. We are a well-recognized and very reputable organization. We send thousands and thousands of students every year all over the world to study abroad. Every year, about 40,000 students we support in all different types of programs. We are a nonprofit organization, and something really special about CIEE is we have a large scholarship fund that um, directly helps high school students study abroad. So, whether it's for a semester, academic year, a summer program, we are generous when it comes to our scholarships. Here we have our three F's. So we have fun, friends, and future. On all of our programs, long term included, you are definitely going to have maybe the most fun experience of your life. So you really get to dive into a culture, um, have new experiences every day while you're abroad. And really have the time and space to explore a new culture, a new country, a new language. Um, Friends, you get to make friends all over the world. So whether it's the students who are in your cohort studying abroad, or local people at your school or within the CIEE Center, you're definitely going to build lifelong connections. In future, really the topic of this webinar today is how this experience impacts your future and really helps you stand out when it comes to things like college um, applications and resumes, and even just while you're still in high school, how that can help you stand out. So, how long can you study abroad? This is a great question. So, let's take a look here. Um, we have summer programs, which we're not going to focus on today, but definitely an option to go abroad for the summer for 3 or 4 weeks. Our semester programs, which is our focus for today, we have trimester, semester, and full academic year programs. We also have options for after graduation. So we have gap year programs, which again can be varied in length, and college first year abroad programs, again, depending on your goals, different time frames available there. So high school semester abroad, these are incredible experiences, and I'm sure we'll hear from our alumni how impactful it all was. But just a few things that these programs entail. So you're placed with a local homestay. I think this is a great way to really be immersed in the local culture, really engage with the language, and see how people from that country live and operate on a daily basis. Um, we have two options when it comes to semester abroad. We have what's called the Immersion In program, and this is where you're attending a local high school. So you're with peers from that country. And we also have our semester in program, which is you're following a more US aligned curriculum at one of our study centers, but still getting to interact with local people for sure. Again, different time frames available. We have our trimester, semester, or a full academic year. Within um, this category of the high school semester abroad, there are two group excursions per semester included to kind of get out of the city where you are, see more of the country, and be immersed in more of the culture. Here we have a picture of a group in the Dominican Republic. So I'll briefly go over our gap year abroad um, program. So we have language-based programs. We also have intern-based programs. So after you graduate high school, if you really want more time to learn a language in a country, this is a great option. It's really also a time to experience the world, learn more about yourself before you might start a full-time college program. These can be a semester or a full year, and included in the cost is housing, your tuition, weekly cultural activities, excursions. So that's the gap year program. We also have our college first year abroad. So this is a great option for students who want to start college, want to start earning credits, but still want to go abroad and have that immersive cultural experience. This you can do a 12-week semester or break it up into two 6-week blocks. And again, the tuition is going to cover housing, support, on-site support, academic support, and of course, all of the safety protocols we offer with CIEE. So now we have our alumni. So Carolina is going to take it away and share all about her experience.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Rena.
Yeah.
Hi everyone again. If you weren't here for the beginning, I'm Carolina Proctor. I'm a current senior in high school and I studied abroad for a semester in Kyoto, Japan. A little bit about my study abroad experience. It was really great since I was a kid. Like, I have been studying Japanese and really interested in the culture. My initial spark was my grandparents used to take me to conveyor belt sushi a lot. And when I realized that sushi came from Japan, I started learning Japanese because I really wanted to go. And then over time, I learned more about the culture, and then I got the opportunity to study abroad. And so here I am. But yeah, I want to study international studies in the future, and right now I'm a current CIE Global Ambassador. But a little bit about the photos here. I went to Japan. I was placed with a homestay, like Rena was saying. My homestay, was I had my host mom, my host dad, and then I had four host siblings, which is a lot, but it was really, really fun because I got to talk a lot with them and we got to cook together, and it's just kind of like finding out the more intricate ways of being a part of culture, because at home my chores and my role in a family look different than being abroad, and so I learned a lot through that. I have another picture here in the top corner with my friends. This was at our school sports festival. I was placed in a school that was a little bit farther from my home, but I learned how to use the trains, and that was really fun. But I was placed at a high school and I took normal classes, but they were all in Japanese, so it was full immersion. Um, and I really enjoyed it. I made a lot of friends. I joined a rock band club, which was really fun. Um, And a lot of times, like me and my friends would go into the city after school and go and explore. I actually have one photo of a shrine that we went to visit, and it was really, really hot after school, but we all got our backpacks and we walked there, and then we went to a cafe and got some sweets, and then we played by the river. So that was kind of like a day in the life after school of just exploring the city. Um, and then I have this other photo, and it looks kind of funny. It's on the top, and it's like a photo booth photo. But there's this thing in Japan called Purikura, and it's like really cutesy photo booths that like make your eyes really big. And so me and my friends would go take photos at those a lot, and that's like kind of a fun thing that a lot of like high schoolers go do. Um, I also have a photo with me and my friend Stella and some of the other exchange students. Speaking of like making long-term connections, I'm actually gonna go visit her soon. And so I got to become really good friends with like my fellow students abroad. And we just got to like talk about what it's like, how it's different studying abroad in Japan. And we went to the same school, and so we got to share a lot of experiences that way. And then I have a few other photos from our excursion that we did. We went to Mount Fuji, and we got to make this really, really, really yummy soup, kind of like noodle thing called hoto, and it's like the food of the prefecture there. So yeah, we got to do all sorts of fun things. If you want to go to the next slide, I can talk about the main topic that we're getting to is how does long-term studying abroad affect you in the outcome or later on, like how does it make you stand out? Some of the main things is that the opportunities that you get grow a lot more. Like through CIE, I got to do a global marketing internship actually with Beatrix. So that was really fun. And through that, I learned a lot of skills like marketing and how to talk with people and know my audience. I put a few of like the advertisements and flyers that I made here. And so you learn a lot of skills through that. And that's like a really unique opportunity. And for people who are looking for like the academic part of things, that's really great for college applications because colleges and people and just experiences in life, they help you better pass just like grades and things like that. I also got to be a global ambassador this year, and that really expands like a lot of people skills and just encouraging others and connecting with your community. Yeah, another thing that you learn as a student studying abroad is independence. You gain a lot of independence on your studying abroad. I had to navigate transportation in a language that I wasn't fully confident in yet. And one of the ways that I use that now was I went on a trip to New York with my school, and I was able to navigate the public transportation there and be confident in myself and being independent when I was helping my friends through the city. Another thing you learn is management skills, because when you're abroad and you kind of don't know what's happening, you have to be the one to initiate, like, okay, I want to go here, I need to get this done, and you become in charge of a lot of things yourself. And so that really helps when you go back home and maybe let's say you have homework you need to get done. You know, all these tools that you've gained throughout the experience. Another thing is that you're able to be like more outgoing and you're willing to take risks because when you're abroad, sometimes you're scared to make friends because maybe there's a language barrier there or a cultural barrier, but you kind of just have to put yourself out there and talk to people to learn about it. And so when you come back home, that really helps you because people will notice that you're willing to learn and you're willing to learn about different perspectives than just like your own that you've grown up with, which is, speaking of, you gain a better global understanding as well. And right now, as I'm applying to college, I want to do international studies, right? And that requires a lot of understanding for not just from your own perspective, but you think about things you've never thought before. Like in Japan, they're very polite and there's a lot of seniority behind just like the everyday conversations that you hear. And so now when I do go study in Japan again, I can think, oh, these are the things that affect everyday conversations. And you wouldn't normally think of that before. Um, and yeah, and just the opportunities it builds for you. And when you are putting yourself out into the world as a candidate, it helps you stick out because it gives you experiences that people are willing to work with. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was an amazing overview, and I loved hearing everything you learned and how it's impacted you. We actually have a question in the chat, so I want to get our alumni perspective. The question is, on average, how many people get accepted into these programs? So can you share with us how many were in your group?
Yeah, so I've heard some different things from some other people that I've talked to, but in my group there was only 4 of us, which I think is a very small group of people. It was the spring semester, and like you have to think about when people want to leave school and all those kinds of things. I had enough credits to unenroll from school to go, but our cohort was really, really small for that round. I'm not sure how many people they could accept and how many people they did accept, but I think most of us were accepted for that semester.
Yeah. Yeah, so the amount of students can vary um, by by country, by semester or academic year. So that's a great question if you apply that you can talk with your advisor about. But thank you for that. And Beatrix, how many students were in Spain?
So in my group, I want to say there was about 30 people. I was not aware that CIE was like a selective program. I know for scholarships, for example, not everyone receives a scholarship, but like if you apply, chances are you're like gonna get into your program. So yeah, for me, there was about 30 people and I left before I met the spring cohort. But there was maybe another 10, 15. So yeah, like you said, it does depend on the location because I think Sevilla is a really popular one. Um,
Hmm.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
Spain definitely is a super popular location. So those programs are, exceed 10 plus, like Beatrix said, can be up to 30 students. Awesome. Great. So we'll keep moving along here. Um, Beatrix,
So,
take it away.
yeah, like I mentioned, I studied abroad for a trimester in Sevilla. I went in the fall. I chose to go abroad, or like I made my decision to go abroad when I was a sophomore, just because I felt the timing was right. I didn't feel ready because my parents had been encouraging me. They'd been like this opportunity, this would be so cool for you. And I was like, yeah, 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 okay. But then as a sophomore, I was like, I started looking more into it. I was like, it's so cool. This would be amazing. And I had grown up speaking Spanish. Like I had taken like 2 AP classes before going, but I don't think you need that level. Like Spanish 3 or 4, and I think you're set. And again, you learn so much while you're abroad. It's really a different perspective. So yeah, here I was also with a homestay. I also was placed in a local school and I was like 5 minutes away walking. It was so quick to get to school. I loved my hometown. It was very, very different going from like Boston area, very, very busy, a lot going on. And then there's this little rural town. It was maybe 20 minutes outside of the Sevilla city itself. So like on the weekends, like Fridays after school, you would go home for lunch, you would finish your homework, whatever, super quick, and then you would call your friends, okay, like meet me at the bus stop at like 5 because that's when the first train to Sevilla goes, like from our town. Super small town. It was like 8,000, 9,000 people, but I found it was like a really close-knit community, and I thought it was really great. Um, yeah. So here, this top corner, this is like my view walking home from school. And then going to the right, it's on an excursion, like a CIE excursion to, I want to say it was Granada. And then, yeah, same thing with this view, like sort of in the middle of the top row. That was also from Granada. Beautiful. Those excursions were so cool. Like that was that was the overnight ones. That was a little farther away from Sevilla. That was really beautiful. I would definitely go again if I were to go back to Spain. I met a lot of like really amazing people through this program, like both through the CIE cohort, they were so cool. Because I never would have met any of these people if it weren't for this program. And like two of my closest friends, one was from Utah, one was from Oregon. Like, and I'm still so close with them. Like I was just texting Laura earlier today. Same thing with my host family. I got so close with them in just a few months. So when I visit Spain next year, I'll be like dropping by. Like my host family's offered like to let me move back in with them while I visit. They mean a lot to me. Like they're really special. And yeah, friends at school, they were super welcoming because they were so curious about like this American student. It was like this new shiny toy. So they were super welcoming. And yeah, I had a great time. Um, for the topic itself, I think Carolina taught like hit a lot of points. Like you definitely did a great job. Um, that like numbers alone, like 2-3% of high schoolers in this country go abroad, like period. So that makes you unique, like just by saying, "Oh, I went abroad for a certain amount of time." It also shows like employers, college admission officers, like whatever your goals are for the future, that you're the type of person to go out and look for these experiences, and like not everybody's cut out for that. Not everybody does that, goes through with that, and then grows as a person and then comes back from that. So the like lived experiences that you have set you apart from most people your age. And people know that. Like, oh, like if I mention, oh, like I studied abroad, that's so cool. And people like are quick to tell you that. Which I think is really special. Um, what else was there? And then there's so many, again, with the personal growth, so many hard skills like language, soft skills, like, communication, adaptability, like even navigating an airport. A lot of peoples don't really get to those sort of experiences until later in life. So you're like ahead of everybody in that sense. Like you're so much more prepared for everything else that you want to do in life because of these experiences. Um, Also, like Carolina mentioned, going abroad with CIE specifically also opens up a lot of opportunities like the internship, global ambassador program. And for my college application, since I'm also a senior, I mentioned my time abroad in my personal statement because it was like that impactful to me. And I also managed to ask for a reference letter from one of my teachers abroad. That's like, I don't know how many other students applying are gonna be able to have that. But like, yeah, it was an incredible experience for me. It's opened up so many doors for my future. And I'm really proud to be able to say that I'm like a CIE alumni on my resume. I just think that's really cool.
That's amazing. We had a compliment to you both that you are doing a fantastic job. And it's so true. CIEE has the best alumni. Another perk of studying abroad with us and being an alumni is you have access to college counseling. So we'll have webinars that we bring in college admissions advisors. So a lot of great opportunities even after you come back home. Yes, Carolina.
I believe too there's an opportunity with a few colleges. There's a partnership that if on your application it says you studied abroad with CIE, there's something where they like have to consider your application or they look at it more carefully. And so that already gives you like an automatic leg up when applying to colleges too.
Yeah, and that's again, if you apply, great things that your local advisor in your area can share more about. We have a few questions. Um, so we have a question that is about homework. So maybe like give us a little bit of idea of like what was school like and what was homework like. We also have a question about curfew. Um, so can you guys speak to that a little bit? Whoever wants to take it away.
Yeah, I can go ahead first. I'll speak about the curfew thing real quick, because I kind of have a funny story with that. But in my host family, I had curfew at 9 p.m. I don't know what the specifics around it was. I didn't really ask my host mom, but in my situation, like she was really strict about that. And I think it just depends on your host family, but like if I came home a little bit late, she would kind of be like, "Hey, like you need to come home on time." So I had a more strict curfew. And because like my school is in Kyoto, but I lived in a town called Hirakata, which is on like the outskirts of Osaka. And so I had like an hour-long train ride home. So if I wanted to make it home in time, I would have to leave at like 7 or 8 after hanging out with my friends at school or going to explore different places. So yeah, curfew is kind of a bit strict for me. But as far as schoolwork goes, because my Japanese wasn't to the level where I could perform well academically, I went in with the mindset that I wasn't going to like get a transcript. And I had double checked already with my school that I had enough credits to graduate even if I did go abroad for like a quarter in my school system. Um, I did get textbooks and assignments, and the only class that I did really good in was my English class. Um, but besides that, like I think my math class I was able to keep up in with some of it, and my school it was like you had to take an entrance exam to get into the school, and there were different levels you were placed in. So I was placed in like the lowest level because like my Japanese wasn't perfect. But yeah, I was just kind of along for the ride and just enjoying the classes and getting a lot of input. My teachers didn't really expect me to finish my homework unless it was like English class. But I was also expected to take the final exams. I could get a grade if I wanted to, but I didn't because it didn't go so well. Especially like classical Japanese, that was really tough. But like because we were exchange students, we were sent to a different location to do the exams. But you're treated as like a normal student, and if you want to commit to the academics, like totally go ahead. But for me, I kind of focus more on like the language and the culture and kind of exploring where I was.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And um, these alumni, they were both in the immersion in program. So they were attending local schools. We do have the option to take online classes through Arizona State Global Prep. And so these are a little more aligned with US based classes where the credits more easily transfer. So different options, depending on each individual scenario. But Beatrix, do you want to add anything or talk
Sure.
about homework? Did you get homework?
Yeah, I did. So first with the curfew, I mean, my host family was super chill. They had another host sibling who was like a year or two younger than me. Um, So, I mean, they were just like get home alive by like midnight, because that's usually when they went to bed. Because I feel like Spanish people, generally speaking, their whole day is just later. Like, I'm sure maybe some of you have heard like how nefariously late the like eating schedule is. Dinner is at like, I don't know, 9, 10 p.m. So, if I went out with friends at 5 and then we went into Sevilla, we hung out, did whatever, ate dinner, and then had the late bus back that was at like 11:15 or 11:17 some nights. Like they were very specific with that. And then I got back and then I walked home. Like I was usually fine. I didn't really get any trouble with them, and they would have been flexible, even if I was a little bit late. So again, I think it does depend on the family. And then as for homework, I got pretty regular homework, but it wasn't super duper difficult for me. Um, because again, the expectation was a little bit lower, I feel like being an exchange student. But at the same time, like I knew Spanish, I could understand what was happening. Like, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't it wasn't horrible. It was, yeah. I mean, it was homework, it was high school, but yeah.
All right, Beatrix, while you're on a roll here, we have a question for you. Did you attend a public or a private school in Spain? And did you, if you did whichever one you did you know anyone who did the opposite of what you did?
So I attended a public school and I did know students in a private school. I knew one who was in a private school and I knew one who was in bachillerato, who was like the grade above. That's like pre-college because again, the education system's a little bit different. But um I mean, it's possible. You just have to like on your CIA application, you just have to mark which one you prefer and then they see like where there's availability, where whatever. Um I've personally grown up in public schools. Like it wasn't it wasn't a tragic like transition for me. Um but yeah, I was happy. I like my school.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So Spain, yep, there's an option to do public or private school. Cool. Oh, this is a great question, and I'm excited to hear your responses. The question says, how was adjusting to US school after you came back? Did your school accept the abroad credits? Um, could you continue your next school year, or that was difficult to manage with US school after? I think a part I think too, it would be interesting to hear like how was just readjusting to life after study abroad, you know, like credits, but also just like everyday things. So like what was that like?
I can start. It was actually funny enough, that is what my personal statement for college is about, is like the
Mm-hmm.
reverse culture shock, because it's so real. Like it's kind of scary how real it is, because like you grow up in a place for your whole life and then you don't live there and you live somewhere else, and then when you come back, you can like see all the little things that you've never noticed before. Like something really really funny was in Japan, like their commercials are really different and it's a lot more like food, and I noticed a lot of like beer commercials. But when I came back to the US, I noticed how much of our commercials are like pharmacy based or like medication and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, like I've never noticed that before." And also just like the cultural norms, like in Japan everything's very polite and you kind of have to guess what people mean when they say, like they're not very direct, versus in the US it's like really direct and it's much more relaxed. So coming back, like I definitely had to adjust to that, and also the food is really different. Like in Japan, I'd say it's kind of like clean eating almost in a way. Like their food is really balanced when it comes to nutritional things, and so like my skin was glowing and my hair was great and like I felt great and I walked every day. So I felt like really, really healthy. And then when I came back to the US and I was in like a car all the time and the food that I was eating was like a bit like heavier than in Japan. And so that was already an adjustment too. Like my tummy started hurting a little bit when I got back. But as far as like schooling goes, I had kind of not like I challenged myself into my junior year because I went abroad my sophomore year. And I was on my ASB, and so on top of committing to ASB, I had a few AP classes, and it was going to be a really tough year for me. So in the beginning, I did kind of fall behind. Like my grades weren't as great as I'd like them to be, but I worked really hard, like with my friends and my counselors, to get them back up to where I wanted to be. And so I think it really taught me how to like fight for what I wanted to have and building that resilience and coming back. But it created a great insight for like how US culture is. And like, even though you wouldn't say US has like a distinct culture because there's so much diversity, um, I definitely noticed a lot of things that I wouldn't have before if I hadn't gone abroad.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Thanks for sharing that.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, so
Beatrix, do
I
you want to
would
add? Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say it felt like not very much had changed. Like, for the weeks, I mean, I had been so set on studying abroad. I was like, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait. And then like the week leading up to my flight, I was like, wait, like this is real. Like, and then I started getting nervous. I was like, what if my friends forget about me? What if I fall behind? What if this is like the worst decision of my life? Wrong, literally all wrong. And then I had a great 3 months. I had the time of my life. And then I came back and it felt like nothing had changed at all. And because I went on a trimester, I had a little bit of like an awkward timing where I had like a month or so before the second semester of my high school started again from when I came back. So I got a job, like I was still busy. And I worked all of this out with my guidance counselor beforehand. So I made sure that like by unenrolling and then like submitting transfer credits, everything would work out. Like that was no problem. But it does depend on the school. So make sure to check with your guidance counselor like before making any like guarantees. Um, but in terms of like an academic transition, it was fine. I mean, the rigor I would say was the same between the two schools. And because I had that month to kind of like relax, it was not school. Like I felt very refreshed by the time I came back, so I was completely set for the new semester. I was like, I'm gonna lock in, second semester junior year. Everything's gonna be great. And it was great. And my friends, like the day after my flight, I arrived like 1 a.m. in the morning. The next morning, I went and met up with my best friend because I did miss her. Obviously, I would call her all the time in Spain, but I did miss her and I hugged her, and then everything was great again. Um, yeah. So then, yeah, I mean, I had a positive like re-merging experience, but I did notice that it felt a little bit flat coming back. Like it felt like there was so much else I could be doing now that I'd had this experience. I was just
Mm.
like, because as soon as I graduate high school, I'm gonna take a gap year. Like I know that for sure. And I think this experience, this trimester was just a little taste of that. Um, so yeah, I'm excited. So.
Yeah. It's true what they say about like you get bit by the travel bug. Once you go somewhere, you'll just never stop exploring. That is very true. Awesome. Thank you both. We still have some time. If there's other questions, feel free to drop a question in the question and answer. Um, we'd love to answer any questions. Also on the screen, you can go ahead and scan one QR code for the program of your choice. If you start your application with this QR code, you'll receive $200 off your program. So feel free to do that. Yes, go ahead, go ahead.
I wanted to add something really quickly to like how it makes you stand out.
Yeah.
I got a job when I came back, and it's like the best job I've ever had. And it's because I studied abroad. I work at a Japanese restaurant right now. And so I still get to kind of experience a little bit of like my
Wow.
study abroad experience because I have to speak Japanese with like the wait staff. And it's like a family owned restaurant. And so having like the cultural skills that I learned in Japan helped me get that job. And like the way they run the restaurant is kind of based on those norms, and so it really helps you like find different communities of like where you are. And then through that, like I've been able to connect with other exchange students who have come to like my school. There's this one girl, and she's not an exchange student, but her family moved here for a year from Japan, and I get to go help her like with math sometimes and translating things into English. And so I've made like a lot of friends and connections that like I wouldn't thought of before. And like it is true, like you're bit with the travel bug, and like I miss Japan every single day, even if it like affected my schooling now. But it's so much worth all the things that you gain and learn from it. And like I'd recommend it to anyone who can go abroad. Like 10 out of 10.
Love it. Yeah. Super cool. I'll leave these QR codes up. We still have time, so like I said, if there's any questions, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A. If anyone has to go, thank you so much for attending. Thank you to our alumni for sharing all these incredible experiences. Oh, we have a question. It says, do you need to have a specific number of credits to go study abroad or any sort of So there is a minimum GPA of 2.5. So that is something that's across the board depending on um, any place you'd be interested in. In terms of having an already specific number of credits, not really. But I think what Beatrix said is super important about having conversations with your guidance counselor and school. So she's right that it really can depend school to school how things are structured and how things work out. So if this is something you're interested in, it's never too soon to talk with a guidance counselor. And if you guys want to add anything on what that process was like for you, but just keeping in mind it is totally school dependent, where you go to school and what city or state. So it really varies a lot, but feel free to add anything.
I know, like, I recommend getting to know your counselor a little bit before you go study abroad. So instead of just being like, hey, can you get this like figured out and help me with this? Thanks. It's like you kind of build a relationship with your counselor and then you kind of have like a friend there and they help you with more things later on too. But yeah.
That's a great tip. Yeah. And I think it speaks to the skill of, you know, independence and taking the initiative to talk with your counselor to make this happen for sure. Yeah. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for attending. We hope that this has inspired you and you've learned some of the benefits and the outcomes of these long-term study abroad. If you have further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. All of our contact info can be found on our website, ciee.org. And if you start an application, you will be connected with the local advisor to wherever you're based, and they can help you out, answer all additional questions, and kind of they'll walk you through the whole application process. So thank you all so much for attending. Have a great night.